Good afternoon, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpa coming to you from the living room in Jack's Beach. I'm looking out at the smoke coming off my tomato grill. I have a pork butt on there, and it's maybe a little way, little past halfway done. So I might be checking that while I'm doing this, but I wanted to read this story for you and get it on here. I'm trying something a little different, where I have this floating thing and I can move myself around so that we can see all the words. So we'll see. Today we're doing the Sneetches and Other Stories by Dr. Seuss. So this was 1961 when this one came out. And my brother Richard, he was a year old thereabouts when this came out. And this is going to be several stories. It's not going to be just one story. Now the Starbelly Sneetches had bellies with stars. The plain belly Sneetches had none upon theirs. Those stars weren't so big. They were really so small. You might think such a thing wouldn't matter at all. So I see a star on this one and no star on this one. Let's see if I can get myself. But because they had stars, all the Starbelly Sneetches would brag. We're the best kind of Sneetch on the beaches. So they're at the beach just like your grandmother and me, with their snoots in the air. And snoot is your nose. Put your nose in the air. Look down your nose at people that you think you're better than. With their snoots in the air, they would sniff and they'd snort. We'll have nothing to do with the plain belly sort. And whenever they met some, when they were out walking, they'd hike right on past them without even talking. So they would just pass on by. So, Starbellies. These are Starbellies. These are plain bellies, I think. When the Starbelly children went out to play ball, could a plain belly get in the game? Not at all. You only could play if your bellies had stars, and the plain belly children had none upon theirs. So that's a funny way of saying theirs. So let's see, I think we can move me up here. When the Starbellied Sneetches had Frankfurter roasts, so they're cooking hot dogs over the fire, or picnics or parties or marshmallow toasts, they never invited the plain belly Sneetches. They left them out cold in the dark of the beaches. They kept them away, never let them come near, and that's how they treated them year after year. Oh, I didn't realize I had that thing up there. So. Then Then one day, it seems, when the plain belly Sneetches were moping and doping alone on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their bellies had stars, a stranger zipped up in the strangest of cars. So here they are, they're looking at this dude coming up. He's not a Sneetch, because he doesn't look like one. "My friends," he announced, in a voice clear and keen, "my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean, and I've heard of your troubles. I've heard you're unhappy, but I can fix that. I'm a fix-it-up chappie. I've come here to help you have what you need, and my prices are low, and I work at great speed. And my work is 100% guaranteed." And here's his name, Sylvester McMonkey McBean. And he looks like a monkey. And he's got quite a strange car. So, let's get me down here. Then quickly, Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine. And he said, "You want stars like a star-belly Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each." So here they go in, this says in, and this says out. So they go in, they give them the $3, they go in, and they come out, and they have stars on their bellies. Let's move me all the way. "Just pay me your money and hop right aboard." So they clambered inside. And clambered means like rushed in there. They clambered. They climbed in kind of quickly. Then the big machine roared, and it clonked, and it bonked, and it jerked, and it burked, and it hopped, and it bopped them about. But the thing really worked. When the plain belly Sneetches popped out, they had stars. They actually did. They had stars upon stars. So, let's see. Let's get me there. Then they yelled at the ones who had stars at the start. "We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart. We're all just the same now, you snooty old smarties, and now we can go to your Frankfurter parties." So they're popping out of this thing and going right over there and saying, "We want to be in the club." "Good grief," groaned the ones who had stars at the first. "We're still the best Sneetches, and they are the worst. But now, how in the world will we know," they all frowned, "if which one is what, or the other way around?" So they're not really talking about stars on their belly. They're talking about people with different skin colors and people with different accents. And just because somebody's not like you, we tend to think like, well, they're not as good as me if they're not like me, if they don't look like me, sound like me, etc. Okay, let's. Then up came McBean with a very sly wink, and he said, "Things are not quite as bad as you think. So you don't know who's who. That is perfectly true. But come with me, friends. Do you know what I'll do? I'll make you again the best Sneetches on beaches, and all it will cost you is $10 each." So it cost these guys here $3 each to get the star. And these are the guys that already had the stars. And this guy's a mountebank. He's a snake oil salesman. He comes into town and says, I can solve all your problems. Right here in River City. So let's see what he's all about here. Let's put me up here. Belly stars are no longer in style, said McBean. What you need is a trip through my star-off machine. So here's a whole nother machine. And it says in right here and out here. This wondrous contraption will take off your stars so you won't look like Sneetches who have them on theirs. And the handy machine, working very precisely, removed all the stars from their tummies quite nicely. So then with snoots in the air, they paraded about, and they opened their beaks, and they let out a shout. We know who's who. Now there isn't a doubt. The best kind of Sneetches are Sneetches without. So they're full of themselves, huh? And here's these other guys. They don't look happy. Then, of course, those with stars all got frightfully mad. To be wearing a star now was frightfully bad. Then, of course, old Sylvester McMonkey McBean invited them into his star-off machine. Then, of course, from then on, as you probably guess, things really got into a terrible mess. So I think that, yeah, I'm in a good spot there. Well, the rest of that day, on those wild, screaming beaches, the fix-it-up chappie kept fixing up Sneetches. So the ones without stars are going into the star thing, and then they wind up going into the take the star off thing. Off again, on again, in again, out again, through the machines they raced round and about again. Changing their stars every minute or two, they kept paying money, they kept running through, until neither the plane nor the star bellies knew whether this one was that one, or that one was this one, or which one was what one, or what one was who. So there they are. This guy McBean, he's got all the money. Then when every last cent of their money was spent, the fix-it-up chappie packed up and he went. And he laughed as he drove in his car up the beach. They never will learn. No, you can't teach a Sneetch. And so you can't teach a racist or... It's like I always say, guys, don't discriminate against somebody for something they can't change. In this story, these things, these Sneetches, could get the... It's almost like, oh, you get a tattoo and then you get it removed. But the things that you're born a boy or you're born a girl. Shouldn't pick on somebody. You know, if you're a boy, you don't pick on a girl because they're not as strong as us. And if you're a girl, you're smarter than the boys, so you don't pick on us because you're smarter. You know, you don't take advantage of people. Now, people who choose to do the wrong things, discriminate against them. Feel free to discriminate against them. for doing those wrong things. But McBean was quite wrong. I'm quite happy to say that the Sneetches got really quite smart on that day. The day they decided that Sneetches are Sneetches, and no kind of Sneetch is the best on the beaches. That day all the Sneetches forgot about stars and whether they had one or not upon theirs. So that's a good thing. This is called the Zacks. Sorry I keep drinking, but my voice is giving out. Let's check the temperature. Looking good. Upper 160s, lower 170s. I have 2 probes in, so I don't know if you can see that or not. The Zacks. One day, making tracks in the prairie of Prax, came a north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks. And it happened that both of them came to a place where they bumped. Then there they stood, foot to foot, face to face. Look here now, the north-going Zack said, I say, you are blocking my path. You are right in my way. I'm a north-going Zax, and I always go north. Get out of my way now, and let me go forth. So one of them's going 360 degrees, and the other's going 180 degrees. So neither of them can get out of the way of the other, because if they get out of the way of the other and they vary a little bit, then they won't always go north or always go south, because I'm sure that that's the next thing we're going to hear, is that this dude always goes south. Who's in whose way? Snapped the south-going Zacks. I always go south, making south-going tracks. So you're in my way, and I ask you to move and let me go south in my south-going groove. Then the north-going Zacks puffed his chest up with pride. I never, he said, take a step to one side. And I'll prove to you that I won't change my ways if I have to keep standing here 59 days. I don't know about that. And I'll prove to you, yelled the south-going Zacks, that I can stand here in the prairie of Prax for 59 years, for I live by a rule that I learned as a boy back in south-going school. Never budge, that's my rule. Never budge in the least. Not an inch to the west, nor an inch to the east. I'll stay here not budging. I can and I will. If it takes you and me and the whole world stand, if it makes you and me and the whole world stand still. Well, of course, the world didn't stand still. The world grew. And in a couple of years, a new highway came through. And they built it right over these two stubborn Zacks and left them there standing up, unbudged, standing unbudged in their tracks. So they're still in the same place, but now this whole city is built up there, and they even have the Zacks bypass, so everybody gets to see them. I guess they don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't have bodily functions to take care of. Okay. Oh, that was the end of that story. Now this one's called Too Many Daves. Did I ever tell you that Mrs. McCabe had 23 sons and she named them all Dave? Well, that would be too many Daves. Well, she did, and that wasn't a smart thing to do. You see, when she wants one and calls out, "You who? Come into the house, Dave," she doesn't get one. All 23 Daves of hers come on the run. So if we counted, I'm sure there's 23 kids here, and they're all named Dave. This makes things quite difficult at the McCabe's, as you can imagine, with so many Daves. And often she wishes that when they were born, she had named one of them Bodkin Van Horn, Bodkin Van Horn, and one of them Hoos Foos, and one of them Synonym, and one of them Hotshot, and one Sonny Jim, and one Shadrach, and one of them Blinky, and one of them Stuffy, and one of them Stinky, another one Putt Putt, another one Moonface, another one Marvin O'Gravel Balloon Face. Tag. And one of them Ziggy, and one of them Soggy Muff, one Buffalo Bill, and one Buffalo Buff. And one of them Sneepy, and one Weepy Weed, and one Paris Garters, and one Harris Tweed, and one of them Sir Michael Carmichael Zut, and one of them Oliver Bolivar Butt, and one of them Zanzibar Buck McFate. But she didn't do it. Now it's too late. So here's another story called What Was I Scared Of? We'll check our mute again, kids. Yeah, coming along real nice. Well, I was walking in the night and I saw nothing scary, for I've never been afraid of anything. Not very. Then I was deep within the woods when suddenly I spied them. I saw a pair of pale green pants with nobody inside them. So I am hiding something. I wasn't scared, but yet I stopped. What could those pants be there for? What could a pair of pants at night be standing in the air for? Excuse me. And then they moved those empty pants. They kind of started jumping, and then my heart, I must admit, it kind of started thumping. So I got out. I got out fast. And feet as fast as I could go, sir. I wasn't scared, but pants like that I did not care for. No, sir. After that, a week went by. Then one day, dark night in Greenwich, I had to do an errand. I had to do an errand there and fetch some Greenwich spinach. And while I had fetched the spinach, I was starting back through town when those pants raced round a corner and they almost knocked me down. So now the pants are on a bike. I lost my Greenwich spinach, but I didn't even care. I ran for home, believe me. I had really had a scare. Now bicycles were never made for pale green pants to ride them, especially spooky pale green pants with nobody inside them. And the next night I was fishing for double trout, for doubt trout in Rover River when those pants came rowing toward me. Well, I started in to shiver. And by now I was so frightened that I'll tell you, but I hate to. I screamed and rode away and lost my hook and line and bait too. So, yeah, he lost his whole fishing gear. That's what I think. Crap. I knew that was going to happen. I ran and found a brickle bush. So this is a brickle bush right here. I hid myself away. I got brickles in my britches, but I stayed there anyway. I stayed all night the next night too. I'd be there still, no doubt. But I had to do an errand. So the next night, I went out. So he stayed hidden in this tree for 2 nights. So let's see where I can put myself here. I had to do an errand. I had to pick a peck of snide in a dark and gloomy snide field that was almost 9 miles wide. I said, I do not fear those pants with nobody inside them. I said and said and said those words. I said them, but I lied them. So he is afraid. And he's thinking, whoa, where are those pants? Whoa. Then I reached inside a snide bush, and the next thing that I knew, I felt my hand touch someone, and I'll bet that you know who. And there I was, caught in the snide. And in that dreadful place, those spooky, empty pants and I were standing face to face. I yelled for help. I screamed. I shrieked. I howled. I yowled. I cried. Oh, save me from those pale green pants with nobody inside. And let's move me up. But then a strange thing happened when those pants began to cry. Those pants began to tremble. They were just as scared as I. I never heard such whimpering, and I began to see that I was just as strange to them as they were strange to me. I put my arm around their waist and sat right down beside them. I calmed them down, poor empty pants with nobody inside them. So he's becoming friends with this pair of pants. It's another one about people being different. Just because people are different than you doesn't make you better. And now we meet quite often, those empty pants and I, and we never shake or tremble. We both smile, and we say, hi. And here's hi. The guy's saying hi, and he's saying hi. And it looks like that might be the end. Peace out. There go the balloons.